where not just women are in danger, but all marginalized people, where being uniquely different right now might truly be considered a crime. It seems as though we had all slipped into a false sense of comfort, that justice would prevail and that good would win in the end. Well, good did not win this election, but good will win in the end. So what today means is that we are far from the end. Today marks the beginning of our story. The revolution starts here. The fight for the right to be free, to be who we are, to be equal. Let's march together through this darkness, and with each step, know that we are not afraid. That we are not alone. That we will not back down. That there is power in our unity, and that no opposing force stands a chance in the face of true solidarity. And to our detractors that insist that this march will never add up to anything,
Boston Red here with Friday Java, a weekly magazine of political theory, polling, and commentary. It is part of the history called people that make up this fascinating journey. We are part of the Obama network. For that, we make no apologies. What we pledge to do is give you the facts on a bridge to history, what body politics is, the most up-to-date theories of political science and psychology. Stay tuned for this incredible ride. Boston Red, peace out. From WBRN Radio in Boston and on the Boston Red Network, Friday Jobber on the 25th of August 2017. We have the people from the University of Virginia, that's in Charlottesville, on the various senatorial matchups between Republicans and Democrats. Not much there, but we'll have some polling, some battleground polling to look at it, a more current situation. Perhaps if we have time, we'll visit the Cook Report. They have some interesting information there. But firstly, let's look at Hurricane Harvey. Harvey is moving along. It's the most powerful, at least predicted to be, hurricane in 12 years. It is intensified on early Friday. This is from Reuters. Harvey grew into a Category 2 storm with winds of 105 miles per hour. That is 196 kilometers. Anyway, it moved northeast about 220 miles. That's 355 kilometers off of Corpus Christi, Texas. The National Hurricane Center said in an advisory. It forecast to make a landfall late Friday or early Saturday morning, and up to 35 inches. That is 97 centimeters of rain expected over parts of Texas, with winds up to 125 miles per hour, 205 kilometers per hour. Sea level may surge as high as 12 feet of 3.7 meters. Louisiana could get 10 to 12 inches of rain. Flood warnings in effect for Louisiana and northern Mexico. Life-threatening and devastating floods expected near the coast due to heavy rain and storm surges, the center said. The storm approach has triggered evacuations and canceled a first day of school in communities along the South Texas coast, which is home to 5.8 million people from Corpus Christi to Galveston. Energy companies shut coastal refineries, pulled workers from offshore platforms in the Gulf of Mexico, holding offshore drilling in South Texas. On Thursday, by midday, just 10% of the offshore U.S. Of the Gulf of Mexico crude output and 15% of natural gas production had been halted. That is from the government. Louisiana and Texas have declared states of emergency. And also DJ Trump is ready to provide resources. We hope he has money. Harvey is forecast to come ashore at Category 3. That's from the National Hurricane Center. It says the third most powerful on the Saffir-Simpson scale. That makes it the first major hurricane to hit the mainland U.S. since Hurricane Wilma struck Florida in 2005. They expect Harvey to move slowly over Texas. They usually do, and linger over the state for days. Houston, the fourth most populous city, warned the nations have warned residents of flooding from close to 20 inches of rain over several days. So things are there. We looked at this also from a number of angles. A Fox station in Texas, basically the same thing there. And another station, Fox 29, this is in San Antonio, Texas. Update, no immediate mandatory evacuations in place in Corpus Christi. That is Merced County. The mayor urged residents to voluntarily evacuate, saying the area is up to and at the threshold of mandatory evacuation. That was at 12 p.m. Texas time. Would have been, 2 p.m. Eastern time. And at, 12:15, a mandatory evacuation ordered for Rockport, Port Louis, Port Ansel, Port, or say Pass along the Gulf there. I don't know where those places are. The San Antonio EOC holds a press conference to discuss preparations for tropical storm Harvey. That was at, that was on Thursday night. So we have some updates there. We'll leave them very quickly behind in Texas, and hope that some people don't float away, including my friend Pam there out in Texas. Let's go now to the University of Virginia. We'll go there very quickly. We normally don't go this early, but we'll take care of this. This is the Senate's 2018 Republicans edge up run against Trump and history. Well, the history, we've talked about this before. A lot of that history was written during the apartheid segregated times. And this is by Kyle Klondike. He's a managing editor there. Since Trump won the presidency 2018 race for Senate seems to pit two powerful competing forces against one another. Republicans longing, intriguing a list of Democratic targets, and several of which are in some of Trump's best states, versus long-standing tendency of the president's party to struggle to make gains in the midterm. As far as that pattern is concerned, I'd throw it out the window. You have to look at races. The maximum of the late Thomas Tip O'Neill. All politics are local. It does happen many times here. The second point on midterm struggles is not only amplified by the president's poor ratings. Well, it's hard to determine now, and we'll get to his ratings, standing at basically around 40% to 35%. In August of 2017. History is daunting for president's parties. It's uncommon for an incumbent in the president's party to lose re-election in a midterm. Not uncommon. Anyway, the Crystal Ball colleague, this is Godfrey Skilling, looked at the Senate midterm elections in a popular election era, including 26 midterms from 1914 to 2014. Things have changed since 2014 and definitely since 1914. Some who did not belong to the president's party, its incumbents, had a sterling re-election record, 91%, 287 of 314 non-presidential party incumbents won re-election in midterms. If anything, out-party incumbents are losing in midterms is becoming less common. In the 6 of the last 8 midterms, including 3, this is 2016, 2010. You remember that 2006 under G.W. Bush, he was moving into his second term. 2010 on Barack Obama, and 2014, no such incumbent lost re-election. The last 3 midterms were conducted on the presidents with weak popularity. G.W. Bush in 2016, Barack Obama in 10 and 2014. No doubt about that. Barack Obama still won re-election in 2012. Over the last century, there is only one midterm election where the re-election rate for non-presidential party senators was less than 80%. That was in 1934, a long time ago, a different nation there. FDR, very successful first midterm. Less than half of GOP incumbents running for re-election. 47% won another term. That is only of 3 midterms since the Civil War that the president's party also netted 3 seats in the House during a midterm. While we cannot know what the precise circumstance of next year's election will be, that is something to say. One might expect the re-election rate of the president's party senators in the midterm year is still robust, but far weaker than the 75%. Of the 33 Senate incumbents up for re-election next year are running for another term, at least at the moment, 33 and 25 are Democrats, including the purpose of the argument, Democrats caucusing independents, Angus King in New England, in Maine, in fact, Bernie Sanders of Vermont. 8 are Republicans, applying their historic average to next year's re-election would result in, a drum roll please, in the next party of 0 seats. If 91% of Democrat caucusing independents are re-elected, that would be 23 out of 25. And if 75% of the Republicans re-elected, that would be 6 out of 8. So in other words, very, very slim choices there. They look at some of the states here. We looked at very red states like, let's see, Missouri comes to mind, Montana, North Dakota, West Virginia, as some pretty tight races there. Republicans could lose only 2 seemingly vulnerable seats. That's in Arizona and in Nevada. Senator Flake, that's a good name for him, and Heller in Nevada. Now, what we don't have here, what will happen to Senator McCain if Senator McCain were to leave the Senate one way or the other, as they say, then we'd have a situation in Arizona, an appointed senator there, of course, serving out the time. Not exactly certain where the law would go there. Republicans currently hold a 52 to 48 majority in the Senate. Such a gain does not seem realistically possible if unpopular. Trump, probably so. A Democratic takeover seems very unlikely. That would be correct unless something fantastic happened there. And we look at the toss-ups in Nevada and in Arizona, and they also have Indiana. That's Dudley there, the former sheriff, He was in the House of Representatives, Indiana, and Missouri. That's Claire McCaskill there. Claire McCaskill has beat all kinds of odds. She was a supporter of Barack Obama and was reelected in Missouri. This time around, we don't really know what the situation would be. We'd have to look and see where that would be going. But nonetheless, Fleck in Arizona is now a toss-up. I would say that. He's catching it from DJ Trump, and he's also, the Democrats are moving up in Arizona. Heidi Henekamp, she's out in North Dakota, from a toss-up that leans Democrats. She has always run a solid campaign there in North Dakota. And then they mentioned some incumbents, fallen incumbents, of any trouble, no indication there. Dianne Feinstein, she'll be around literally until she meets St. Peter, whomever. Murphy in Connecticut, Caper in Delaware, out in Hawaii, Hirano, Elizabeth Warren, Ben Cardin in Maryland, Amy Klobuchar in Minnesota, and so forth and so on. Cantwell out in Washington State. And, of course, Bernie Sanders, I would doubt that very seriously. Now, the one state possibility there, Robert Menendez, he's in Jersey. His corruption trial is coming up soon, between now and November 2018. I thought they had a date on when this corruption trial is coming up. It's kind of bad when we have to look at that. But until the end of the year, Tutan Christie is still installed in Trenton in the State House. I guess he's not on the beach anymore. And that's if he's convicted. The Democrats could slow pay the expulsion. And, of course, until Phil Murphy, the Democrat, a big favor there to win an election over in Jersey. The Republican side, Wacker of Mississippi, Deb Fisher, nah. Bob Coker, he's in Tennessee. Orrin Hatch could retire. Brazos in Wyoming are highly unlikely to grow credible opponents, throw their money away. But in some of those states, a Bernie Sanders type could run. Heller, Fleck, we don't need to mention them again. They're too flaky. Well, we go to Wisconsin. Tammy Baldwin. Been always intrigued by Tammy Baldwin. Wisconsin under the auspices of the evil boss Walker there in Wisconsin. The Republicans have a very good organization there, no doubt about that. And we skipped over here to Keystone State, Pennsylvania. They Barretta in Pennsylvania, 11 could make a run there. Casey, a moderate, has been running there. In Michigan, Debbie Stanoff, this Kid Rock character, they were encouraging him to run in Michigan. Again, you have very interesting situation in Michigan. Will the trade unions that are left in Michigan be able to stop that? Old Mitch McConnell is, of course, wanting this Kid Rock there character to run. What is this asshole's name? Robert Ricci is his name. Ritchie. Anyway. So if Stabenow or Casey lose, the Democrats likely would have a disastrously bad midterm. Well, no doubt about that. The margin of victory has been 20 points. That is in Michigan. Debbie Stabenow has run very good races. And so is Casey. Casey is the son of old man Casey, who is dead now. But there's a number of things here. Tammy Baldwin could have a very tough race. Depends what happens in Wisconsin. But Wisconsin was a state narrowly won by DJ Trump. In fact, if you add the three states together, less than 180,000 votes, 77,714 votes there. That was in Michigan and Wisconsin and Pennsylvania. So very narrow there. Things are not going to change. Let's go to the ground game. Another tight race. Sherrod Brown up in Ohio. There's Mandel and several other characters running there in Ohio. We'll see how that one comes out. And we already talked about Joe Donnelly in Indiana. And so in other words, there's a lot of opportunities here for the Republicans if they're running strong candidates in some of these very red states. The highest percentage of them was the Senate Secretary of State. That was Jason Kander. He won 46% of the vote, losing by less than 3 points to Roy Blunt. Roy Blunt's always ran close races in Missouri. To win in Missouri, a Democrat has to have a high turnout in St. Louis and Kansas City, which they usually get. But again, these voter laws are very, very shaky. And they also mention here Joe Meacham. And in West Virginia, Joe is, by personal magnetism, has been able to win there. And John Tester out in Montana. Montana is a very interesting state. Tester could win there. Depends on what they throw at him. They currently evidently don't have a candidate there. That Ryan Zinke is with DJ Trump. And some others there we don't know about yet out there. So that's pretty much where that stands. Retirements, Dianne Feinstein. Well, there are plenty of people in California could run for the Senate there, including Sander Fluke. Possibly. And in Utah, Warren Hatch. We don't know how that one would go. We don't want to get into that one. But let's look at some current polling. When I look at the time here, we're doing all right. We'll look at some polling first. And a number of polls out. The GWU Battleground poll that has DJ Trump at 42%. This is on Thursday. The Gallup poll at 34%. So he's been up and down in Gallup. A low mid 30s to around 40%. Rasmussen always has him at 42%. The generic battle in the battleground states has Democrats ahead by 7. Now on Wednesday, Quinnipiac has approval rating at 35. Reuters at 36. YouGov at 40. PPP at 40. And let's see what else have they got going here. Congressional approval rate, I don't pay much attention to it because it hasn't affected the Congress, period. Generic ballot for PPP has Democrats ahead by 14. Now, one very interesting poll here somewhere out of Mississippi, Opinion Savvy has Roy Moore at 50% and Luford Strangelove at 32, more ahead by 18%. There in the state of Mississippi. That's one of the races could be very important in terms of its textual situation with McConnell being very, very unpopular and being also attacked at the same time by DJ Trump. And let's look at the battleground poll here. And we'll see exactly where they are going. The Tarrant Group and Lake Research Partners. I'm assuming nonetheless, this is the sampling here. 3% were 18 to 24, 4% were 25 to 29, 6% were 30 to 34, 35 to 39. What was it? 7%, 40 to 44, 9%. They really diced it up here. 45 to 54, 10% of those. From 54 to 64, 24%. You can see where this is going. 65 to 69, 11%. 70, 74, 11%. So a lot of older people in this poll. Do you feel the country is going in the right direction? Do you feel it's going off track? Right direction 17, right direction somewhat, 11, so pretty much even there. Let's go merrily along here. And if elections for Congress were held today, would you make a choice? Would you be voting in a random this? They asked them, 34% of this poll would vote Republican, 4% leading, 18% undecided, 5% leading the Democrats, 40% would vote Democratic in this particular poll. And they list a number of people as randomized, different favorable and somewhat favorable. John McCain, 21%. Beauregard Sessions, 13%. DJ Trump, 28%. Mike Pence, 30%. He has a higher favorable rating than the others. Ryan at only 12%. Mitch McConnell at 4%. You can see where this is going. Mr. Mueller at 15%. Incidentally, he will be a guest lecture, special lecture. Robert Mueller at wait a minute. I'm sorry. Let me back up here. And Nancy Pelosi at 14%, Chuck Schumer at 12%, and Ms. Harris, Kamala Harris at 9%, and Bernie Sanders at 27%. Bernie is almost as high as Mike Pence in this particular poll. Yeah, let's see. Did I? Robert Mueller, yeah. Okay. How would you rate the job of DJ Trump? His approval is a strong 28%, approval at 14%, onshore at 4%, disapproval at 5%, strong disapprove 48%. Not good for DJ Trump. What do you think that Trump has been effective as a president, getting things done? Yes, 28%, strongly yes, and strongly no, 28% there. Now, these various issues of DJ Trump, approval, disapproval of his rating here has been on this issue, foreign affairs, 26%. This is people approve of him. And dealing with North Korea, 31%. Disapproval at 8%, 8% and 12% anyway. Did a little better there, I suppose, in some of his exploits. That's DJ Trump. Let's see. Do you approve or disapprove of the job that DJ Trump is doing? 32% approve, somewhat approve, 18%. Foreign affairs, 26% and 13%. I don't think we need to hash over that one again. And let's see, did we miss anything with DJ Trump? This is probably breaking this down. Let's see. Tax reform, 45%. This is in the GOP, 40% Democrats. And job and economic development, 47% in the Republican Party. And 42% there. Trade, 49% national defense, 54%, that's in the Republican Party, 34% in the Democratic Party, dealing there. About the same, 44 and 40. Climate change, Democrats there at 58%. This would be the disapproval there of him. And turning the economy around, 48 and creating jobs, 47 and 40. Now, I'm going to read you a list of issues. Please listen as I read, and this is what I just read. Whoever you are more confident in, they rotate this around, Republican, Democrat, to deal with these issues. So we state the issues there. And healthcare reform, 35% of Republicans, 50% of the Democrats. There, and ends in randomization there. Republicans in Congress, Democrats in Congress, 33 and 29. Who do you think is the most responsible for the fact that Congress has not passed any laws? The Republicans, well, obvious. Do you know that there's currently a special prosecutor? Allegations that Russia attempted to influence the 2016 election. Members of the campaign committee there. Trump campaign staffers committed crimes, 31%. Trump campaign staffers behaved unethically, 21%. Trump campaign behaved normal, 37%. You kind of see where that was going there. Not, as one would say, very high marks on that. Now let's finish this up here. Generally speaking, do you think of yourself as a Republican? 19% there. Republican, not strong, 7%. Independents were 28% here. Lean Democrat, 7%. Democrat, not strong, 6%. And 24% were Democrats, as in this particular survey. Generally speaking, there. So you can kind of see where the Republicans were in this survey here. And which candidate did you vote for? And this is interesting here. 40% voted in this survey for DJ Trump, 42% for Hillary Clinton, 3% for Johnson, 1% for Jill Stein, McMullen, 1%, 3% for another candidate. Are you a member of a trade union? 10% with trade union members, 3% in household, non-union 85% in this poll. Single 17%, married 62%, separated 2% anyway. Divorced 10%. You can see where this is going in terms of marital status. Most of the people here were married. And then you get into religion here. 20% were Catholics, 16% were Baptists, 8% were Methodists, 2% Episcopalians, 2% Evangelicals. That's kind of surprising. Presbyterians at 3%, Lutherans at 4%, other Protestants at 6%, Greek Orthodox at 1%, Jewish at 2%, Mormons at 1%, Quakers or Amish, and get them in there, others at 12%. When do you go to church, synagogue? They don't mention mosques here, but anyway, 13% once a week, more than once a week, 35% once a week, several times a month, 14%. Federal religious type here, only on holidays, 9%. Okay. This is a religious question. Either born again, 44% there, not born again, 49%. 7% refused. Do you consider yourself to be a Christian type? And the ethnicity in here, 74% were Europeans, 11% were African Americans, 4% were Latinos, Asians at 1%, natives at Americans at 2%, and others at 5%, and 5% refused. Okay. Latinos, Spanish-speaking American, 3% and no. All right, so. And they rotated this. Do you think of yourself on economic issues? Upper class, lower class, middle class, top to bottom. And we'll see. 7% were upper class, 71% middle class. Everyone wants to be in the middle class. 17% low income, pretty good distribution there. The working class at just 1% were working class. And some refused, 4% refused there. Males were 27%. Let's see, males retired, 19%, a lot of retired people here. Females employed at 22%, female household types at 6%, and 21% of the females were retired. 1% refused to say anything about it. And that is the end of the Battleground survey. The Talent Group, a national survey research firm. We talk to people and Lake Research Partners. I don't know if that's old Lake there or not, but we know. Anyway, that is the Battleground state for what it is worth. And let's move on here to sport. Always a part of Friday Jobber. And we have to find it here. Went over this earlier. The Conor McGregor fight, evidently McGregor is a little bit overweight here, but not unusual for his particular mix, I suppose. Conor McGregor is no jeopardy of missing his weight there. That's according to his nutritionist. They have nutritionist George Lockhart, who prepares the UFC champion, told CNN. I even call it in a masterpiece. He woke up this morning 8 pounds over. He'll get down to maybe 150
56 pounds by tonight. I'm pretty sure of that. That will be in 2,000 mix. Merriweather, no problem reaching that. It's McGregor has to go down. These are fairly light people. McGregor, tell him to shut effing mouth. And anyway, this is some of the pre-fight publicity here. Out here, a fairly small guy. I'm not certain. Let's see. McGregor's dehydration somewhat between 166, 168 in the T-Mobile Arena. So that is where they'll be fighting. And both of these characters here, Floyd, Merriweather at 49 and 26 KOs, and McGregor at 21 and 3 must weigh no more than 154 pounds on Friday, and again, Merriweather is below that. I'm not sure where. They don't say where he weighed in, but he doesn't have to cut it. It will be 2 pounds in the mix. Well, I'm not sure how they do this. Anyway, off we go to the baseball scores. Remember, the NFL boycott is on. Hank Aaron joined in support of Colin Kaepernick this week. And at the boycott, we'll have on the week that was, we'll talk about the boycott and Spike Lee's efforts there. The D-backs were in New York. D-backs at 3-2. The Marlins were in Philadelphia. Marlins 9-8. The Yankees were in Motor City. Tigers 10-6. Tigers finally win one. The Blue Jays were in Florida and was shut out by the Rays. The Rockies were in Kansas City. Rockies 3-2. The Dodgers were in Pittsburgh. Dodgers 5-2 in that one. Mr. Rayu was the winner there. The Red Sox were in Cleveland. Cleveland 13-6. Oh boy. The Cubbies were in Cincy. Reds 4-3 over the Cubbies. Oh well. Mr. Stoop was the loser there. The Padres and Cardinals in St. Louis. Padres won that one 4-3. And in 11, a game we tuned into, the Nationals pulled it off. Dr. Bernanke is happy about that over the Astros, 5-4, 11 innings. The Twins and Sox on the south side of Chicago. Sox 5-1. And finally, the Rangers and Angels in California. Rangers shut the Angels out. 3-zip. Let's take a quick look at the standings. We usually do this on Monday morning, but we'll do it here. We have a little time to do it and see where we are. In the National League East, the Sox are on top. The Yankees are 4.5 back. In the Central, the American League, Cleveland is on top, and the Twins are 5.5 games back. The Astros, of course, ran away in the West, the closest thing to them. The LA Angels used to be the California Angels. Anyway, the singing Cowboys probably not happy. Mr. Gene Autry, 12.5 games back. In the National League East, the Nationals on top, and the Marlins are 13.5 games back. They'll never get caught up there. In the Central, our Cubbies are on top. The Brewers are 3 games back, and the Cards are 4.5 games back. A hell of a race there. And finally, out west, the LA Dodgers are on top, and the D-backs are 21 games back. The Rockies are 21.5 games back. They're all running a wild card race there. Where will they go up in the wild card? I don't know. Probably go home. But you never know. I mean, sometimes things do turn out. And finally, a story here out of the Wall Street Journal. Has the Navy reached its breaking point? This is by Step Copsey. Anyway, he's writing in the Wall Street Journal. The latest collision of the John S. McCain. McCain's father and grandfather were both Navy admirals. This ship collided with a Liberian-flagged tanker. And 10 sailors died. Very unfortunate problem there. It's the 4th accident this year. The 7th Fleet headquarters in Japan The missile-guided cruiser, the USS Antenium, Antenium, ran aground. We remember that one going on. The USS Lake Champlain, another cruiser, collided with a fishing vessel in South Korea, the Korean Peninsula. Navy crew had to signal the fishermen who neither had radio to respond to the ship's horn. No one was injured there. The USS Fitzgerald, another cruiser in the Philippines. And the Chief of Naval Operations, this is on the 21st of August, told ships worldwide to pause their activities for a one-day safety stand-down. Big problem there. No-holds-barred analysis needs to be done. China is moving more aggressive in the South China Sea, East China Sea, no doubt about that. And the Baltic and Black Seas are hazardous. Islamic State is being pushed back by an air war conducted in part from ships in the East Mediterranean. No doubt about that. Those missiles are flying all over the place. So, thus, what you have a situation here, deployable battle force of 276 ships is smaller than what is needed to meet the demand. Well, you have just too much demand. One has to keep up to keep the ships at sea longer, no doubt about that, much longer than they used to, period. Gold standard deployments, once 6 months. Amphibious vessels recently had been set out for close to twice as much. That's a year out there. That's a long time to be away from your family if you have a family to be out there. So the problems there, naval training is pivotal. Training has been cut short. I won't read the whole article here. The Navy has several options for migrating extended maintenance availabilities and overruns, including following concise training periods, more commonly according to naval officers. The Navy has pushed practical training in seamanship and navigation too far in the realm of computers. A lot of computers involved here, but at the same time, you have to have some sailors doing it the old-fashioned way, looking. The Vice Admiral here, Joseph Accordion, was relieved of his command. He's no longer Vice Admiral. He's effectively done. Lingering questions. Admiral Richardson did not ask if the fleet is stretched to a breaking point. When does the Navy tell combatant commanders that it's not safe to supply all the ships that they request? Naval ships are still an important thing, even in the drones. This Copsey is at the Hudson Institute for American Sea Power. He served as a naval officer and deputy undersecretary of the Navy in the Reagan and G.W.H. Bush administration. Sea Blindness is his book, and it'll be out at the end of the month. So problems in the Navy, no doubt about that. So this will do it for us on Friday Java, the 25th of August, 2017. Have a good weekend, everyone. We'll talk to you on the week that was on Saturday morning as normal. And also we'll have a Numbers Man report. And the open source report's about 45% done. We will have that this week. We can assure you that. We don't want to get back into our old trend from WBRN Radio in Boston. This is Old Boston Red. Good day.